Hey everyone, this is the Kubeflow Notebooks community meeting for the 23rd of April. The main thing we always like to start with is Notebooks 2.0. If you don't know what it is, it's a rewrite of Kubeflow Notebooks. It's coming out soon. It's in alpha right now. It's not ready for production use. Please do not use it in production. If you have experience in any of these areas, please reach out to us on the Kubeflow-Notebooks channel of the CNCF Slack, or come to these meetings every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific. We need people who have experience specifically with Go and React, and obviously for front end and back end areas. Specifically, back end I would say is the most needed part right now, which is it's a Go based REST API that interacts with Kubernetes on behalf of the front end, and then the controller is what you'd expect, a Kubernetes controller. If you have experience, please reach out. Okay, so development guide, I always like to point this out as well, is that it's very, very easy to start using Notebooks 2.0 in a local test cluster. Even if you have no idea what you're doing, it's still worth starting here. So like you go to the repo, kubeflow/notebooks. You go to the branch notebooks-v2. Then if you go into the development guide file, you'll see that here's some information on how to make a pull request. But if you roll down, here's developing with Tilt. It's going to keep getting better over the next week. But right now, it creates it doesn't have like some production aspects, mainly around auth. Right now, it's just mocked auth. But you can run a single command and it will build the local version, start a kind cluster, deploy Notebook's current state from your repo onto it. And then if you make changes, it will even rebuild and update. And so it's just an important step that everyone should be developing in here. And we'll talk about how to improve that later. Yes. Okay. So YouTube video things. I'll sync with Christian and Andy after this. I'll make sure that we need to upload these videos to YouTube, obviously. Hopefully you're watching this video now on YouTube and that's why it's there. These are the ones. Let's just skip over it. So Kubeflow 260301. Can we get a status on this, Christian? I know you're actually on a train, but we can translate what. Let's just come back to Christian unless he thinks he can talk. I think he can't unmute, I don't think. Okay, so I just want to check what our current status is on getting Notebooks alpha released in here for the manifests. I know that was the main PR remaining. I don't think it's done yet. Okay. Okay, yeah, so we need to obviously build the new version tag, I know, but so is that the main thing blocking you, or is there other, I know because we merged in some fixes to other things. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna, we can follow up after this, but this for everyone's context, we just want to get this obviously into the manifest, because otherwise I don't want them cutting release without it. I still need to finish up my last aspect of it, which is for the Notebooks v1 images. Hopefully that will be done in the next day or two. And then we will I think we're planning to cut the first RC of this patch release for the manifests next Monday. So we got this weekend to get in anything we want to get in for the first RC. Of course, there can be other RCs. Okay, any other comments about this release for manifests 260301? Cool. Dashboard. Any comments about that? Oh, Andy?
Sorry, I was going to pivot to dashboard. We have that Axios bug on. If I think Christian's raised the PR, do we want to get that in and respin stuff is kind of the big one in my mind.
Oh, yeah, we'll look into that after this. Yeah, let's look into that after this. Okay. That's just it's a CV upgrade, right? Yeah.
Yes.
For a front and oh wait, this is notebooks. Sorry. You're talking about sorry, is this update? I can see there's one for workspaces, but is it?
Dashboard was the one I thought that Julius incorrectly pinged on the Notebooks v2 manifest PR that was related to dashboard.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. We'll follow up that after this meeting. Okay, cool. So it's like, I mean, yeah, if it's ready to go, sure. Yeah, why not? Any other comments about dashboard then? Like, so it's for not just for the current v2.0 release, obviously. We'll cut the final 2.0 once the manifests have cut their RC, and then in the second RC we'll just sync that in. Or maybe we won't. Maybe are we at a point now where we think we can just cut this one? Or I don't know yet, right? That's because we can obviously do point one. It's just I want the point zero to actually work, just actually be functional, and I don't know. Are we at that point yet? Um, Probably. I mean, we'll have to see. The reason I don't want to cut the final is also if I wanted to make a breaking change to the manifest or anything else, it's 10. I mean, it's not strictly required. It's just me being pedantic. Okay. Oh yeah, upgrade guide, but that doesn't worry about for the release. Okay, let's move on. Any other comments, Andy? Christian? How about anyone? Cool. Um, the manifest working group, we always need to work with them. If someone, the question was asked by a Christian, that we expect them to do the upgrade guide. Of course we do because it's their tool, not ours, like the manifest. But we need to document what they need to reference, obviously, which is um, our documentation is please delete the old controller manifests and sorry, old dashboard manifests and replace them with the new one. We need to test that out on a cluster which has profiles, make sure that it doesn't delete the profiles. You know what I mean? Like, so that's our most important thing. I think it doesn't, as long as, like, if you do kubectl delete on the CID, though, it will, something crazy could happen. Like, that's my biggest worry. So, like, we need to just make sure that we give a series of commands which are actually safe to run so that the dash front so the works sorry, the manifest team can reference those, and they might choose to do it differently, but it's yeah. Okay, moving on. We can talk about that afterwards, but that's more of a documentation thing. Okay, notebooks v1. Again, nothing here in my mind other than the notebook example images, which are blocking on me. And I know that the canonical people did raise this PR. We will work on that once everything's out. Thank you for your patience. Any comments about notebooks v1? Okay, other one comment. Actually, we did have one thing last time we need to probably address is there are so many pull requests being raised now that this repo is open again. We need to try and get a handle on that. I think we needed to add some warnings in the README and pull request template into the v1 branch that just explains, hey, please raise an issue and discuss your plan before raising any feature requests here. And if possible, let's pivot towards contributing to V2. Because this is actually a really useful source of contributors for V2, even if one or two of them are like, oh yeah, I wanted to use these features that are cool. So yeah, any comments about this problem? Because I just see we've got a lot of pull requests coming in from okay. Some Christians saying something about a KEP from KFP though. Ah, yes.
Yeah, that's just to help reduce drive-by spam.
Yeah, that's not. I wouldn't actually. I think these PRs are actually legitimate. Like in a lot of cases, these are like people's PRs that are like downstream forked changes that they've made, and then they're wanting to upstream in a lot of cases. Um, I did so like they're really ripe for converting to V2, both users eventually. I mean, everyone will convert to V2, but like to being contributors potentially. Um, like front end people, maybe like actually this is yeah, we just need a warning. We just to think about the best way to communicate to people that I don't know. Cool. Um, we can obviously deal with the fact that any PR that gets the area v1 label could also like the bot the fact that we have that automatically happen. We can actually have a pull request sorry, a GitHub action which detects that label actually, and so you don't even have to deal with looking for it.
We
Yeah,
have examples in the workflows today that
yeah,
look
yeah.
for labels and do stuff based on our planning features things. So, I mean, that's like kind of trivial. Anyone could probably adapt that based on any criteria we give them because it's a solved problem.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's just like about like pinging people being like, hey, Notebooks V1 requires a planning issue because it's sunsetting, you know what I mean? And but hey, it looks like you're contributing. Notebooks V2 needs contributors, you know what I mean? Like there's like I feel like that's a critical thing. Okay, any other comments about Notebooks V1? Any PRs that are pending that are critical? I mean, we don't need to go through them now. I just want to check. I'm just gonna put a thing here. Closing PRs into V1 unless vertical. In PR template, in bot message for things labeled with area V1, in readme of notebooks V1 branch. Cool. Right now, it doesn't actually explain that. Oh, and probably main as well. Okay. Awesome. These are things we can work on. If Christian wants to pick that up, that's great. Okay, notebooks V2. Now let's get this here. So I don't think we're gonna do a demo right now. Maybe we will. I don't know. I think let's just focus on what people are working on and what our current plans are overall. So Andy, obviously, we had a long conversation with about various things. There is obviously lots of new people ramping up on various areas like Akram and others. How are we going with not even just specific areas, but like contributors like and things like that on V2 specifically? There's some new people who are starting to raise PRs.
There has, but I really wish they'd join. There was, Christian's obviously been great. Akram, I was talking with him earlier today, so it's like even though he's like not on here, he reaches out to me quite a bit, so I'm very pleased with his like level of commitment. A few people that had reached out in the past that I was hoping would like stay involved have kind of went radio silent. There was an alley developer, but it's been a week since I heard back from him, unfortunately. So it's, I think kind of like right now in terms of what we can really depend on, it's kind of the usual cast of characters right now.
Okay. Cool. There's more people. Yeah, there's some people on the periphery that I think we can drag in. Is kind of what I'm saying. Especially the people who are doing notebooks V1 stuff. I just feel like if you're willing to go raise a pull request to something, like you're probably more willing to raise. They probably just don't know, right? And then if they have, the goal is to have them say, "Oh, notebooks V2 is worth me investing in because I want it for my company," or this kind of thing. And if they're allowed to contribute V1, they're allowed to contribute V2, presumably. So, like this kind of, yeah. Okay, so other than the stuff that we're talking about before the meeting about around just like we need to cut a new release because there was some changes that needed to be in there just to fix for the manifests. Um, is there anything else that needs to be in before we cut that manifest that's already pending on V2?
Not needs to be in, but I feel like we have like quite a few PRs that are kind of like ready to just dive in and hopefully get merged. So it certainly doesn't need to block release of anything, but
Also, the
yeah.
current state of main, if you will, is safe, right? Like, because I know we've added more things, like getting the icons and images in, for example. I mean, is that one just like ready to merge in if it just like might as well come into the next alpha when I cut that,
Yeah, I
or is
mean,
it
like I said, we just need to like sit down and talk about it. I mean, you've given good feedback. I've implemented all of that, re-reviewed, rebased it, remade sure it works. So it's just a matter of art. Do we feel like it's the right, coding patterns to bring in?
also is it just
Um,
like it's introducing some behavior changes? That's all. It's just like if like it might break other like it's like for the demo purposes. Like it does like that's my only slight concern about the first alpha because people will install the alpha. Is what I'm saying. Like the one that's in the manifest repo, expect at least 1,000 people to try it. You know what I mean? So like
No, so it
yeah.
doesn't break anything. I mean, quite honestly, from our examples, it doesn't actually do anything because we don't like I
Yes.
did create an image source config map, but I don't have it wired into anything right now, right? So it is there, but it actually doesn't affect it's easy to get it into a demo, but I don't have it default on because I like the three workspace kinds we have
Of
defined
course.
right now. So
No,
there's
I'm not
no
saying that. I
risk
mean,
of
I'm more worried about the controller changes to cache secrets, right? Because I think it does that, right? Like that's just making sure that we. Oh, sorry,
Yes,
config
is it?
that.
I think this is all in the back end, not controller. Let me quickly double check.
I think the controller has to do something because I think it does hashing. Anyway, so we talk about it later. So all I'm saying
Yep.
is that we can talk about it after this call on the reviews part where we do after this call. But so anything else that needs to be in? So front end people, Polo, is there anything you've got that's just like ready to go in, uh, or not for today?
I just reviewed some PRs from Charles that changed the front end, and one is merged, another is about to be, and also Christian's SPR upgrading Axios is approved, so should be merged soon as well.
So which one is this? Sorry.
The third one.
Oh yeah, so we that fixing thing. So I mean, we can talk about it offline about if it's actually a vulnerability or not. Of course, it's not a released product, so you shouldn't be using it in production.
Yeah,
It shouldn't matter. You know, but actually, we can talk about it on the call because of that. So what is the problem here? Like, I mean, I know Axios had a problem and multiple problems actually, but like a supply chain attack as well. But I guess there is some other just straight up bug. I guess is that what we're saying here?
yeah. I mean, it's what's written there, and there was the supply chain. We weren't in a version, I think, that
Yep.
was
Yeah.
vulnerable to it, but yeah.
So my other question here is like these kind of attacks, right? Um, we're not using it as a backend, right? Like, what is the actual I'm not saying we don't upgrade. I'm just saying like just saying was this actually a vulnerability, you know, from our model of deployment and usage? Like,
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if the
I think it's not.
vulnerability
No, it
makes.
literally cannot be. I think. Well, okay, it could be because if it depends on what Axios actually does. If it creates a JavaScript binary package or something. But I'm just yeah, like because anything in well no, sorry, I thought this said dev. Don't worry, I'm reading wrong. But yeah, so I'm just interested to know because like the pattern model we've taken is that the front end doesn't actually run any code other than JavaScript. So like you know, it serves the JavaScript and HTML to you, right? Um, it's just an interesting question.
Yeah, unless it has to do with some vulnerability on the browser as well that can be explored to steal
Yeah.
cookies or something.
Yeah, it's probably that. Interesting. Although that would be worked around by Chrome and others. Okay, cool. So other than that, we obviously merged that. Was there another one you said?
Yeah, the fifth one, I think. Oh yeah, I left a comment there that is not ready.
Okay.
But the sixth one, the 1024, I think.
Oh yeah, this is actually pretty important. Actually, this one for demoing purposes. Yeah. Is literally the feature we just talked about before. So what is this one just ready or is this not quite ready yet?
Yeah, that's ready.
Because we
I
can just
did
accelerate
review.
merging this, and if we think, unless you have a review you wanted to do. Oh,
Oh,
he already
I
approved.
mean, Other just approved it. Yeah,
Oh, literally. Wow. It's like he's
it's really now.
that's weird. Okay. He's not even in the
I
call.
had pinged him a few minutes ago. That was a
I see. That
coincidence.
makes sense then. Okay. Okay. Cool. That's funny. Because anyway, that will make its way into the alpha we're about to cut in. That's just all I'm saying. Okay. So other than that, okay. So moving on from that alpha cut, is it unless we've forgotten any other PRs that are going to get in or need to get in?
I think one of the next bigger, and I know Charles had a conflict today, but one of the next kind of like big things, and not for the alpha because I think it's too kind of disruptive, right? But with Akram's list values PR merged, and we have, I think if we have 5-10 minutes to discuss after the call today, the workspace, he kind of brought that similar filtering to workspace kinds, but we probably need to talk about, um, because the list options already had a hidden field, we got rid of rule effects UI hide. What does that mean for workspace kinds now? Which like we didn't really call out, so that's like not Akram's fault. But as I'm reviewing that PR now, I'm kind of wondering, oh, do we want rule effects UI hide true false as the object on the workspace kind when we ended up not doing that on the list values options?
No, so definitely not. Yeah, yeah. So the answer is that from the UI's perspective, I don't want there to be too I mean, the rule effect was more actually a documentation of why the hide happened, but I just don't even think it's necessary. You know what I mean? Like that I think the only other one we talked about previously was that um maybe we want to have a message there so that the front end so that the admin can say I have hidden this because of this reason, or this is, you know what I mean? Like just giving some information to the user. And then that would probably be a new that might slightly restructure the hidden field maybe to be true
So
false.
yeah, but I don't think there is a hidden field on workspace. So it's this
There
1033
is.
and 1043.
I
We just need to follow up with Akram to give
I
him
think
the
there
right.
actually is a hidden field if there. We should check though. If not, we'll add one, but that's fine.
Okay, but yeah, like I said, I think like generally the shape of this code is good, but it's because we made this decision and list values. I didn't really think about that to like update the issue on workspace kinds. That was kind of on me, but we should give Akram that clear feedback so then we can move forward with both of those.
Yeah, cool. Let's talk about that after on the review part of the call afterwards. Okay. So other than that, so yes, we will need to make a breaking change to the front end. So we're going to make a break. So for context for the front end people, I think you already know this, but we're going to disable the options from being present in the workspace kind list API. Right now, the model of the list workspace kind still contains the options because the front end is depending on it, just so we didn't break that. But we're going to delete that probably after we cut the alpha. So you'll need to so we should, but you can raise the PR and merge to the new list values API before that point, or is there any work already happened? Because I want to get rid of the one from the list workspace kinds, obviously. Anyway, that's just an important task. Okay, so and we've got a lot of things we're going to be merging in, so a lot of stuff's going to keep getting better. We've talked a lot about compatibility selectors. I know Harshad has been working on starting to work on that. Is that correct, Harshad? Like, I'll just show it on the screen.
Harshad's on activity rules. Akram's on compatibility selectors.
Wait.
It's the culling stuff, right? It's called activity rules.
Oh, sorry. You're right. Okay. Yes, sir. I thought, sorry.
Same fundamental design pattern here, but yeah, like different use cases where they're cropping up.
So activity rules, is it, okay, interesting. Is there a open issue? Where's the issue for that one?
It's called culling. I think that's what it's called. Let me find
Oh,
out.
interesting. Because like the design, okay. And then while you're getting that, let me just quickly show the, I think we talked about it last time. Where is it? For compatibility selectors, I just wanted to show on the recording because I think it's very interesting and I think it highlights an amazing capability of Notebooks V2, which is just exciting, I think, which is so everyone can get interested. So it's I won't try and go into depth about how it works, but the outcome, I'll scroll down to the very bottom, is that a workspace kind is going to be able to define alignment rules, if you will, between options and kinds and users, even and teams and everything, so that you can do things like, I don't want everyone in my company to be able to spawn this kind of workspace kind, for example. So this one says if the namespace of the team has a label, then they're allowed to use this workspace kind. If they have, and you can select your workspace. This is for the workspace kind. You can also do this with options and other things. You can say some team is allowed to do it. You can also, this one's really powerful, is say, don't allow spawning an NVIDIA container image with an AMD GPU. And so that's pretty powerful. You can also do things like have some GPUs that are protected from being used except by people with approval to use them, and even have a message. And so initially we're only supporting hiding, but there's going to be a and I do think we should add that message thing. I keep forgetting to say that. Like we should add the message. And eventually we'll add actual hard restrictions that are, so if we roll up to the top, the rule effects right now have hide. I don't know what this dashing is going on here, but it's a bit strange. I think it must be tabs or something. The ACL one, and with this API will change a little bit, but it probably is going to move the message down. But yeah, so this is pretty powerful. There's really no way to do this with Notebooks V1. I mean, by definition, you can't do this with Notebooks V1. It's just, how would you even do it? So the power of this is pretty crazy. Think of it like firewall rules, honestly, with even more complicated stuff than that, including who is acting, right? Which is pretty powerful. That means that two people in the same team might have different capabilities. Cool. I just wanted to highlight that. And so the thing that, any questions about that from people on the call? And so who's working on what part of this right now? I think you said Andy.
So, I mean, I think Akram has a good grip on this, like all the way through from controller to, I mean, he did a lot of the back end stuff already that like we'll obviously need like to write the actual code to evaluate these rules in the back end. But Akram's kindly volunteered. And yeah, if you unmute, man, you can talk for yourself. But I'm very, like, I just feel like he has the pulse of this. So if he's available to run with it, he should continue to do so.
Yeah, so I'm taking the issue. So I'm trying to like wrap up how like the full implementation of it will be, and maybe I like in a couple of days I will send like a proposal before starting implementing it, and we can
So
like
I
discuss.
recommend trying to do a really quick, rough one that even just says like where you're planning to make changes, because I think we have some ideas of where specifically we'd expect to see the code
Yeah.
change, you know? Like
Yeah.
and so let's sync on that as soon as you have just a basic understanding of what you're going to do.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so I don't
Absolutely.
want to I don't want you to spend lots of time on a proposal and then be like, oh no, actually just kind of go in the wrong direction. So then you
Okay.
can do that. Yeah, cool. Okay. And so the focus will be on the getting the backend to do the UI side. Because again, there's no ACL side yet. So there's no actual need. Well, the backend is still actually going to be doing the ACL as well. But just yeah. And also don't over optimize at first. Like obviously you can do very complicated optimizations, assuming there are thousands of rules, but there's not going to be thousands of rules. You know, so like this is kind of something I want to highlight.
Okay.
Starting with just a simple, you know, n squared big O complexity on each call is fine. You know, like
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool. Any other comments, Akram, about what you're working on? Thanks for your work there.
No
Cool.
comments. Yeah.
Because this feature is going to be amazing. It's very exciting, and all the users watching, I'm sure, are going to be thinking in their head, "Oh my gosh, this is going to make my life so much easier to manage my cluster." And stop people selecting things that make their lives bad. Even, you know, like users don't know what they don't know, right? And that's our goal here. And so front end people, question for you, Polo, mainly, would you want to have a message in here when the rule with the rule information? So by the way, and Christian actually just asked an interesting question, which actually this is a really important question as to whether we should have cell-based rules, give CEL, you know, similar to how things. We should talk about this offline as to what would the expansion of this. Right now, it's purely based off match effect, and so it does look a bit like a cell rule. But I wonder if there's any code that we could pull for evaluating rules really quickly from the control from, you know, upstream Kubernetes. I just if that I don't know, any intuition there, anyone?
I think we could design right, layer that in, right? Where like the matchers, like we could like bring about cell support later. And I think at
Because the
least to kind of like,
parser, because there is a
yeah.
parser, is kind of what I'm saying. I wonder if like we could like I mean in the future what that would be, I just assume, right, would be that there would be another match here with like a cell rule, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yep.
And so one other question for not Akram, but like just rather than I think there is a small chance that constraining the valid rule space would make the implementation a lot easier potentially. So I'm just wondering if, for example, certain scopes maybe require certain a rule, at least one matcher of a certain kind. You know what I mean? Just like thinking about that, if that makes sense. But we can talk about that offline. Yeah. Okay. But yeah. So cell is an interesting one. Christian, I think this is a good contribution. I think, you know, this seems like a good feature that doesn't need to be in the version 0. But
Yeah, I would strongly agree with that as well. I think we can show the value of this just using like innate selectors, which is just kind of easier to ration about, but cell layering that on gives more power and is like a wonderful addition within the spirit of the work.
to be clear, actually, I think it's always going to actually have to be one under each matcher type. So like just because of otherwise it's completely unclear what you're filtering. You know what I mean? Like, cause yeah. Anyway, so just coming back to that. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. Okay, so and the activity rules, Hashad, you were talking about that. Actually, we've gone a little bit too much here, but yeah.
Yeah, it's in the
rules.
controller. I think you have written it in the controller side. If you scroll down, but I've shared the links. It's 5.3
Oh, where you send it?
In the chat.
Oh, this
But if
one.
you scroll down, you will see 5.4.4. It's also there in controller bugs. You're in front end, right now.
Oh yeah. So what's the one which actually has the design though?
It is in the, if you scroll down,
Oh, sorry. Yes.
839 it's written in there. Where here I've sent it in chat if you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
want.
it's maybe easier. Maybe where?
I send it again.
Okay, I'll just open it. Yeah. So Yeah, so just for people to know, like what we're just talking about here, and another great thing for users to know about is that workspace kinds will also have something that feels conceptually quite similar to those other rules, but it's about the effect of the rule not being hiding or showing an option, but to be choosing whether or not we take a reclamation action, like pausing a notebook that's not being used, or and so um, I don't know if there's I don't know, like we haven't revisited the API since doing the other one. I think this is still correct. Hashad, have you got any feelings about that?
Yeah, I think this is the right one right now, and I'm starting to work on it, so I haven't had too much thought as of now, but I'll get to it next time and
So have
show
we already
you.
got culling as the control loop? Because like implementing this part first is going to be important, right? Where effectively you just have a virtually hard-coded rule. Have we? I forget whether this was implemented already.
No, it hasn't been, but that's what I'm working on. I'll start on
Because that's probably where I would start rather than trying to
it. Yeah,
implement the actual rule itself. I'd probably say let's implement the actual probe controller first,
yeah, absolutely.
and then just have a hard-coded rule which says, 1 hour or something by default.
Yeah, I'll take the same approach as you mentioned, like start with something smaller and then scale it up to match the activity rules.
Because there's two kinds of activity rules, right? With
Yeah.
probes, sorry, which is like pod execute, which is the most complicated, and Jupyter, which is pretty simple. So yeah, okay, cool. I think someone raised a PR previously. Is there a PR now? Andy, sorry, you had your hand up.
Sorry, I just wanted one thing. I've made probably more so for Akram's benefit as I look at this, right? Because we did this culling proposal after we started to think about compatibility selectors. So I notice in here under spec, we have an RBAC rules field to kind of because I think in like probably the issues that I'd sent Akram, we just called that rules because at the time we weren't thinking of other use cases. So I just want to call that out for like A, do we feel good about RBAC rules and activity rules as field names? And then B, Akram, keep that in mind, but I will try to like update all references, but it's likely I'll probably miss one somewhere. So are we okay with RBAC rules and activity rules?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question. Obviously, the word rules is so okay. That's okay. Sorry, I actually coming back to that. Is that what you're saying? Is that we should actually change this to RBAC rules? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Because we did this proposal much earlier. And then as we started to explore culling, we realized we could kind of adopt it, but now we have kind of two different rules notions. So we should just agree on the name to save Akram a PR rebase.
Yeah, so this is an interesting question, right? Like, definitely it can't be rules if we're going to have one called activity rules, because that's very confusing. But then I don't know if RBAC is the right one either. Naming things is the hardest thing in computer science. Everyone knows
I
this.
know.
But I think what is the difference? The reason there is a difference is because this reasoning out loud here is because there is a completely different outcome effect structure. You know what I mean? Like this one, and also the matches are actually the same. Maybe, not always, maybe.
Not always.
But we should probably also write some examples like we did for the other one, actually. But yeah, so and these ones are important as well. There's another additional thing called a config, you know what I mean? Because
See, I mean, they're like, talking out loud. Like, I want to say that the top one is option rules, but the problem is we use the word option to like mean something from a RESTful perspective. Like, so then workspace kinds being filter rules, but
but
it's
also
like
not
resources.
everyone is going to necessarily have options, right? So like the workspace kind is too generic for that. So this is at the root, right? So that's why we have scope here. Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? As to otherwise, if it's called option as well, it's not a workspace kind is not an option,
Well, but I
right?
mean, but I mean, like that's what I was saying. It's like you're limiting what options you could choose.
Maybe
Resource.
maybe ACL is probably the
Well,
rather
but
than
again, I
RBAC.
don't like that name because we're actually going to have a deny ACL field in the future that this doesn't like
No, what I'm saying is
UI
the thing I'm
hide.
avoiding is RBAC because it's not role based. It's
Right.
that's literally an incorrect name. It's just not role based, right? So it's
But I mean, I would say like ACL is, like I said, we're going to have a specific meaning for ACL here that is not the UI hide case or this potential API hide case. It's like filtering rules would be the other thing that I could like, that's
filtering, I think, is the right way to do it. Yeah. So and also it could be API rules, like backend rules or something, because these are really only enforced by if we make it clear that these are not enforced by the controller, you know what I mean? Like, or even move it under the spawner section, you know what I mean? Like there's a spawner section. Oh, that's too silly. Now, I think what you just said was the right answer though, which was filter rules.
Okay, so I will update stuff, and then we can revisit as we go to review this PR if anyone has a better thing. But I'll update or Harshad, if you don't mind updating your example, because I don't think I have access to your gist. And then I'll update the stuff that I have. Just that one field, I think, is
also the one question around whether I think we debated this at the time, whether config would be under a matcher or not. I think the reason why config was here is because it needs to exist and have a default for every single one. You know, I think that was the reason.
Yes.
Otherwise,
I think
because there's an implicit matcher is an array. Oh, actually, wait, this should be an array. Oh, not array, sorry. Is that right? Yeah, see, right? So I think at least if we're being similar to the other one, I think this now needs to be an array, which is why another reason why this but maybe it doesn't. It probably does. Yeah, it probably does. Yeah. We'll have to see though. Okay. Is there any thoughts there? Let's finish that up after the recording. So okay, any other comments about V2 stuff? Like there's a lot of stuff going on. There's some things that one of the things for the users that I wanted to highlight is the SSH feature, which we haven't finished building it yet, but the current proposal, and it's not proposal yet, is this, which is I'm gonna pin this. Okay. And so the current proposal is this, which is that let's not do it with SSH directly. Let's abstract TCP connections into pods and do that securely. And the way that we're going to do that is encapsulate TCP over HTTP using WebSockets. So we'll need to make something very similar to the kubectl, but not without needing kubectl. Of course, we could use kubectl itself, but I think we could use kubectl itself and then it would be a little bit painful, but we could create like a proxy host that users are allowed access to. But I think this is an interesting debate, but the end result needs to be that we use WebSockets over our own auth. Actually, no, that's the reason we can't. We need to use our own auth. And so that's not necessarily Kubernetes auth. So yeah, so we can't use kubectl, but we can take kubectl's code largely and put it into our local CLI. But to do this, to be clear, we need to make our own Go CLI, unfortunately. So we'll have another component under workspaces or maybe in a new repo. Anyway, I just want to highlight if this is sensible, we need to start making plans for how to do this because this is a critical feature for the project. Cool. Anyone got any comments about this? This is so that people can SSH into pods or other things without kubectl. Thoughts? Anyone? Andy? Question? Okay. Cool. Okay, so let's get to it then. After, if anyone wants to join in, please chat with us on the Slack and say what you want to help with. Thanks.